Y'all, welcome back to the CVMK show because this is the best show on the planet. Because I'm the best show host on the planet. Your man himself, Mr. CVMK. First of all, I want to thank you all. You guys have been amazing. We have been growing. I told you we were going to surpass 14,000, and we're surpassed 14,000 on YouTube. All because of you all. So I want to give a shout out to the fans. And I promised, I said, I'm going to do a live episode, even though I do not like the live episodes because they catch me off guard and I don't have all my bells and whistles. But it keeps me on my P's and Q's. And I know that you like to engage. So this episode is dedicated to you. We brought back the one, the only Pastor Naamon Williams, the bread of life. Where isn't it where they get the bread? I think I have the slogan now. I would say Kojic, but they like Kojic kind of. Cody Light, bread of life. Then we got a Christ out here. We're gonna get down. We're gonna discuss the hard stuff because merge be hard, right? But I want to make sure that you win. I want to make sure that you're winning in life, and that's why we're doing this episode because this episode is gonna be wild. And I needed somebody who can handle the heat, so we got Pastor Naamon with us. After a quick word from our sponsors. Pastor Dave, how you doing today, man?
What's up, man? All is well. I can't complain at all.
I appreciate you, man. I always have a ball with you being on because I know you can handle me and you won't get offended, right? I don't got to worry about, coming at people's, guests. Yeah. It's always fun. So I'm going to start it off. A lot has been buzzing. I know we're going to focus on marriage, but a lot of people just talking, and I don't know. First of all, let's address some things before we get into the marriage things. Some light stuff. Is church trash? You know what I'm saying? Because do I got to throw? Because I know what Ty was saying. That was an internal conversation on an external platform. I'm gonna ask you: is church trash?
Oh, absolutely not. But I do get what he was saying. I think the problem is the platform that he was on. So I think that many times we just have to be careful when we are presenting a gospel message on a particular platform that is there to dissect it and make it look a particular way. But I do believe he said the institution of church and not the church. We do know that the church is going to survive no matter how we feel, no matter how many we have. Nothing against the church is going to prevail. That's the book. I do believe is that maybe how we do things, how we discuss things. Definitely, church can be generational unfriendly, depending on vision and depending on what you're trying to do. So I do get that part of it, but I think that's what he was saying. The institution on how we do things, we may be flawed, and how we do things, we're flawed in everything that we do.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of redundancy, like cheeseburger, type stuff. What about it? And I don't want to stay on here too long. What about it needs to change? What's the one thing that this has to change?
Difficult conversations. We don't want to have them. It's because we might not have the answer. And sometimes not having the answer and being a patriarch, sometimes that can be tremendously uncomfortable. I don't have all the answers. So there definitely in some of our meetings, it gets there. But we're able to have difficult conversations. So I will say that was the main thing. We have to have difficult conversations. What I mean by conversations, that it's just not one-sided. It's because many of the people who have the problem, they don't have the answer either. They just have the problem. So we just have to have difficult conversations and work together. And as I said, the church is going to go on no matter what the complaint is.
That's true. So let's have this difficult conversation. First, let's start here. There's been a lot of debating back and forth now, and I feel like we're entering into a slippery slope of what shouldn't we do, what should we do, what is sin, what is not sin. Maybe that's immaturity, or maybe we just need to, draw the lines out distinctly. There was a pastor who I actually admire, I actually listen to, and I've been trying to digest, and I agree. I still think that's an internal conversation. He brings up the essence of profanity. He says profanity is not a sin. I believe believers should not be saying certain things. I also am very honest with life and realize, sometimes, tongues don't get interpreted correctly. And things are said, should not be said, but are said, whether you agree with it or not. And that should never be our, characteristic, but it can happen. But to say blatantly that is not a sin, are we headed down or is this, because I feel like we're heading down a very slippery slope here.
Okay. Your cousin, Dr. Luther Walls.
Oh, that one.
Right, that one.
Right.
He just doesn't do medicine, but he practices medicine.
Right.
And one of the things that we have to understand is that when it comes down to sin, you can practice sin as well. And the art of practicing is to get better at it, right? So whatever you're doing. So many times when you practicing sin, you get better at it. So to answer the question, yes, I do believe it's a sinful nature. But Cody, you know this better than I do. In the church that we grew up on, you have salvation and you have sanctification.
Right.
You have this process. But there are those that choose to practice sin. You're not even trying to get better. Matter of fact, you're getting better the other way. So, yes, scripturally, it's yearning from a particular conversation. Yeah, scripturally, that is true. And I do believe that as far as the guidelines, because I do believe that it's a difference, Cody, in making a mistake and practicing.
Oh, I agree. I agree with purposeful. I think Shin, and I'll share this comment, says you decide which words are profanity. I really think her argument is, and we be honest, in the scriptures, Old and New Testament, you cannot find a single direct passage that says this word, this 4-letter, jargon should not be used. Correct. You'll see filthy communication. You'll see evil communication, corrupt good manners. You'll see things in reference to a lifestyle, but you don't actually see it in explicit because we determine what that is, right? And that's correct. Culturally specific, which creates controversy because if you're not from that culture and it doesn't apply, when does it become sin? Right. So, but I do agree with you. And I think the point that you brought up with Dr. Walls, using medicine and practicing medicine are two different things.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of people, I expect, but I don't expect practice, and I think that's where we're headed. Like you've now opted into what we might call iniquity or a lifestyle, right? An actual bent. So I agree, but here's where the shift comes. I am flesh and blood. I have never pretended to be perfect, never will. Ordained elder, but I'll tell you, the truth at all times. I do not like seeing people fail, seeing people hurt. Hurting, suffering bothers me. Especially if I know I could have done something to ease and or prevent. That's just me. I'm tenderhearted. I said my two weaknesses are old people and children. The most vulnerable of society, those with disabilities, I give my heart out to. Grown, nah. But but those, I really feel for. I feel like 80% of marriages are failing. I'm gonna throw this out. And they're failing because we simply won't talk. We won't talk about the real truth. And I think we're sermonizing human experiences. And the problem is the sermon could never capture the full weight of a human experience, nor could it capture the full weight of the glory of God. It is literally I would say a systematic presentation that does the best that it can, right? So I'm gonna throw it to you, Pastor Naamon. We're gonna go down this rabbit hole together. How or what is the number one, I would say, threat to a kingdom marriage?
Lack of communication.
Starting where?
Everywhere. Lack of communication. Lack of communication. Because when you say kingdom marriage, so let's make sure, are we talking to those that live by kingdom principles? So I can make sure I'm answering this correctly.
Oh yeah. When I say that, because I feel like if you're not living by kingdom principles, none of this applies to you. And I don't have, I mean, like, I wish you the best, but if we can't establish a standard, there's no truth. That's the whole point of philosophical good, right? It has to first have a standard, right?
Okay, so what I mean by that, Elder, is I'm not saying that it's a lack of talking. I'm saying it's a lack of communication. Communication is actually a good job getting the person. Maybe you're weak to listen. Maybe it might be your day to listen. It might be your hour to listen. It's because what happens many times in relationships, we need that communication should be this time frame of I talk, you understand, I understand. But Elder Cody, I believe that some actually take some time for that say what we're going to say. Sometimes we have to marinate. Is because many of us, we listen to respond, not listen to stand. And I don't know about you, Cody. I don't you understand everything right away. But for me, I don't understand everything right away. There have been things inside of my marriage. It took the light bulb went off. Did I admit it at the time? No, Cody. I'm proud like you, but
yeah,
it did take me a while. So when I got it, I was able to go back and communicate from the level of, okay, I got it. And every time that you get it, it changes your level of understanding. So when I went back, I was able to communicate on a different level because, I get what you were saying.
I get you. Yes, Mom. I know we already discussed. Pastor David knows. It says cutting it out. Let's communication. I think you're absolutely right. I think communication. The challenge is false expectation, and then dealing with realized delivery. And let me see if I can work it. Right. Hey, let me see. So communication. I really believe person A has an idea of what person B should be and how they should execute it. When that message is conveyed, person B hears it, but can only submit to what is being presented based off of what they already possess. And a lot of times, I say it's like spades. I can't put down the diamond. Like sometimes you counting cards and you're like, who has the ace of spades if I don't have it in my hand? And we're going around the table and you're getting upset. And you say, well, I'm your partner, just cut them. But I might not have it. And I'm trying to be on the defense and say, hey, look, this individual right here is going to run us off and they're going to run board if we keep playing like this, right?
Yeah.
So that's I think is the communication part, because what they did not tell you, and I want you to hammer this, being Holy Ghost filled, being saved is not enough. It's enough for heaven. But you can be demon casting out and hooping, revving back, grabbing ears, sweating, folk falling out, and still in divorce, because God will never make you his equal. He will never make you more than somebody else, even with the access to him.
Yes, sir.
And grace should not make you an idiot or an a-hole.
Yes,
either one, right?
Yes,
so how my Tim Ross side is coming out. How I like to.
I,
No, sorry. Okay, so how do we start there? Like, how do you start and say, hey, look, that person make $30,000 a year. They don't make 35. They don't make 45. They don't make 50. Your lifestyle has to be at 15,000 a year. Walk us through this, Pastor.
Oh man, this is a great question. It's actually loaded as well. So Cody, this is what I would say. So in marriage counseling, this is what I do. And when I marry somebody, before I counsel them and when I come back, one of the things that we have to realize, if you've been married a year, Cody, how long you been married?
50 years. No, I've been married 10 years and 11 years together.
Okay. So 10 years you've been married. You're not the same Cody that you were 10 years.
No, not at all.
Not at all. So what happens is in the relationships, sometimes we can grow differently because of whatever particular reason. And going back to communication, it is vital for you to grow together so you can have that particular communication that you can level up. I guess that's the term for the year. So for me, it all comes from all the way back, Cody, straight back to the level of communication. It's because you said I need more than just to be spirit filled, right? So Cody, the reason why I asked you that is because 10 years ago, there are some things that make you happy. That don't make you happy. There are some things on your nerve 10 years ago that don't get on your nerve no more because you grew as a man. So what happens is many times we don't have the conversation of, you know what, I'm over that. I think that I can handle that. I think I'm ready for this, ready for a particular move. Like that, Cody, I believe that it's imperative for us, not only as believers, but as married couples, to have these type of conversations. Again, Cody, difficult conversations.
Let's talk about difficult conversations, because you're absolutely right. I mean, when I first got married, man, my checklist was, pretty simple. Woman born woman is what it is. You got the right to be whatever, but I like women born women. A woman born woman had to be saved. I'm not talking about a ministry. I just needed you to love Jesus. I didn't want to come home and you got a candle and some gemstones, and I'm like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? I got some religiosity in me. I got some.
I've seen that now. So.
Right.
I've been there.
And you had to have that thing. What did Bobby V say? Turn around. I just want to get to know you. That pretty round thing looks good to me. Slow down.
Yes, sir.
Because that's look, I'm a MA. I tell folks like I'm a MA. Ain't no, I'm a man.
Yes,
so very, very, very basic. That was a very basic list. At this age, as I get closer to 40, thank God I'm married, because if I wasn't, I'd be a wretch undone, because I've changed so much.
Yes, sir.
My tolerance is so low now. Like, it's not just accepting anything, right? So when we talk about these difficult conversations, one of the hardest things and I'll start with the men, and then we're going to cut to commercial break, because I'm going to get on the women, but I'm going to beat up on the men first. I told my guy Denzel, I said, the hardest thing that I had to do when I think like a couple years ago and up to this point, is I can't talk like Superman and not be Superman. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think a real man understands their weaknesses, understands their shortcomings, and understands that they might not have the ability to save Metropolis. And you can't say one thing, right? And you can't stunt like one thing. And I had to realize, my papa was right. My papa, people talk about Bishop Marshall and whatnot, but he was a man. And I would always ask him for advice, like, not way before I got married, just like advice with women. And the only thing he'd ever tell me, no finance, no romance. Just like that. No finance, no romance. And I had to realize, no matter how cold I think my sex game is, if my pocket game ain't matching it, You know what I'm saying? If my pockets don't match, whatever, all the other stuff don't matter. And that's a rough conversation, but your pockets matter.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But so not only do your pockets matter, the conversation about your pockets matter.
Right.
Okay. So that is huge. It's because what happens in marriage, Cody, I don't care. And most married couples will attest to this. Sometimes the man is up and sometimes the man is down.
Yes,
right?
That's true.
Okay. And then sometimes the woman is up, sometimes the woman is down. So the conversation of I got you, baby, is more than a song.
Right.
It is actually an atmosphere that has to be presented to your mate, no matter where you are, the low or the high. It has to be presented that I got you. That is so huge when it comes down to finance. It's because let me say this. It's because for some, for some, finances is a love language.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a love language. So what happens when finances is low? Do we no longer have communication because that's our major language? So what I'm saying is, Cody, is that yes, have the conversation, but have the resolve to say, this is us, not I, not you. This is we. And from there, this is what we have, and this is what we can do. So from there, Cody, trust me, possible. Let me parent. Like early years of my marriage, my wife. So I'm Cody. Matter of fact, my mom told me today I talk too much. I talk to jail suspend the license. So you have told him that. But Cody, this is who I am, right? So now I'm positioned where that thing has reversed. But a conversation did happen. Like I did start off all right, but something happened and we had that conversation. So in that, it let me know that our relationship is more than a financial love language.
No, that makes sense. Totally agree. Yeah. So I'm gonna shift here and we're gonna go to the women and it's gonna get a little wow. I'm gonna take a break. Quick word from our sponsors.
Yes, sir.
There's a hero in all of us waiting to be unleashed. All it takes is just that one last push. Activate the hero within with CVMK Global Supplements. All natural, steroid-free, designed to enhance performance, build muscle, and increase energy. You are unstoppable. You can do this. Become your own hero at www.cvmkglobal.store.
Yeah, I got with me Superpower, but you know what came out last week? The remix of Warrior Thirst. Ooh, it looked good. I got it in my bag. It's over there. I'm so mad I didn't get it during the break. I was just thinking about it. I want you to go to www.cvmkglobal.store. Look, summer, it was 75 degrees today. Summer is around the corner. Yes, I want you to get past the filter. I want you to get that body where you can stand there without a filter. Go get there without www.cvmkglobal.store. Matter of fact, stack that with Super Thick. I'm telling you, if you in the singles ministry and you don't ever want to be in this ministry again, there's a couple things you need. You need Superpower. No. You need Warrior Thirst. I'm gonna do one better for you. You need Super Thick. And you need the protein transform. You do that diet exercise, I guarantee you, you'll be married by this time next year. Let me prophesy to you right now. This nigga, somebody.
I come to the church.
Somebody coming for you, but you can't attract what you not. www.cvmkglobal.store. All right. Town fools the women's. So women have it ridiculously hard. Learning my wife, watching women in general, but definitely paying attention to my wife. They are constantly judged, constantly held to a different standard, constantly scrutinized. Yet they are the backbone of every institution that runs at any level of efficiency. They are the driving force, particularly in the church. Without the women, there would be no church. That's just the facts of the situation.
Then we whack then.
Yeah, we whacked it. Right. Yeah. so and Mario said, I'm married and I need that. Yes, sir. Warrior Thirst, www.cvkclub.store. All right, so
it's my dude, man.
But I also think there's a perversion of teaching that has not just crept in to society, but it's even infiltrated the earth. Not the earth, but the church. This idea of you don't need a man, right? Or somehow you deserve, what does the hip hop song say? A 7-figure nigga. You ain't there, but you gotta have a 7-figure. No, the ain't there yet. So I think the two are doing this. It's creating a unreal expectation and an unnecessary pressure that is hampering success. The other thing is that I told my auntie, I said, what are y'all teaching? And she was like, what? I was like, y'all go to this woman stuff and all that. I said, what do they teach? Because if a wise woman buildeth up her house, what are you telling these young ones, right? Because I'm going to be honest with you. Your preaching can't turn me on. So what are y'all teaching that is so needed? So let's go there. Are we leading the women astray? Are we teaching the wrong things, Pastor Naamon?
Cody, the word is a word. So when we say we teach wrong things, I'm very, very careful of saying that we teach wrong things.
Sure.
I can say this. We might have the wrong approach, okay? We might have the wrong approach, especially with women. I think that the word attractive is like taboo in the church. It's like taboo, attractive. Like, how can you say that, right? We dare not say sex, right? Yeah. So in that, I'm saying, Cody, so when it comes down in this society, in this culture, the self-esteem of a woman is vital. Every work, home, church, anywhere you want to go, the self-esteem of a woman is vital. So many times, Cody, like when we having these conferences, men's conferences, this is my opinion. I believe that at a men's conference, we should have a woman talking to us, the side of a woman while we all there talking about, on heaven, and vice versa for the women. It's because this is what I would to the women as far as teaching is concerned. There's nothing wrong with reminding women of what makes attractive, and I'm not just talking physical. I am talking about the whole span, and we do not talk about it necessarily in the church. It's because it's taboo. I never understood why. I promise you, doing what we was doing anyway. But when it comes down to the self-esteem of a woman, it affects everything. It would affect your house, Cody. It definitely would affect the church. And Lord knows it will affect corporate America. And then this right here, Cody, especially the African kingdom woman, we always should speak her self-esteem. I don't care if her self-esteem is spiritually at the time of what her gift is and things of that nature, is because, Cody, I believe that when it comes down to the woman, we sexualize it because we're saying this is only far as you can go. True. It's because that's what I think my Bible tells me. So we put a hard cap on how far they can go, or how much we will listen to them, or how much we will take from them. But because we are the head. Cody, one of the things that I learned about being in authority is that you don't have to tell everybody every time that you are in authority. True. So in that point, I do believe that men use that card that I'm in authority so much that it makes the woman say, okay, since you running everything, do this. Since you running everything, how you gonna do this without me? And
Right.
it creates an unnecessarily mental divide. And that's why, Cody, we have to have difficult conversations.
I like it, but in that case that you brought up, I do think it's the cart before the horse. I also think that we have a very prudish feel toward the scriptures. I love Brother Paul. I love the Apostle Paul.
Yes, you do.
You can take you can take my Koji card on this one, and I'll argue anybody on this. The Apostle Paul isn't even Isaiah, and he's definitely not Moses, and that is going to get a little controversial, and I don't want to go down that path, because unless you are a true lover of God's word, you go say, that's why I don't read none of that. You know, that's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is you should never let a naked man sell you clothes.
Absolutely.
And there is a lack of insight with his writings due to a lack of experience. Take Moses' writings, take the Old Testament writings for these men who were married, and you take the story of Ruth and how she presented herself.
Yeah.
Right? You take the story of Esther, how she presented herself. And there's strategy in that. And to me, that strategy is evasive, you know, and to the point that I really don't think you hit upon it, we're uncomfortable with, because sex isn't always sex, but we're uncomfortable with the topic of sex as a whole. Like, sex it's a God thing. It's God made it, right? Like, you know, I know Trey Songz says my neighbor's on my name, but the reality is Yahweh, the Father of lights, you know, by his word made this thing. And we won't even say the word. And I feel like it is so a misstep, because you find it first before you find miracle signs and wonders. And how dare we be a great evangelist and a great apostle, but a trash Adam. And I think my Adamness is just as vital as whatever office, my apostleship. I'm not an apostle, but I'm just saying whatever that is, right? So that I think we need to teach it. And I'm not talking about in a perverse way. I mean, like the men teaching the men. Like sometimes I go to, you know, like men's things. A lot of times, you know, I'm not really interested in going to men's services, because all we do is eat. We don't talk about anything. We just eat. So I go because, you know, I'm an elder and I pay my $150, which I still got to pay. And, you know, and it's just right. I support because that's just right. Okay. Mine ain't there, but I support.
Yes, sir.
So, Pastor, how are you going to shift the narrative? You got young men, and how are you going to give them the understanding and the grace, but also the knowledge of this God thing called sex?
Oh yeah, I don't have no problem with that, Cody. This is who I am. So whatever conversation it is, I will talk about it. I will talk about it passionately. One of the things that I've learned, I've been a pastor, I think now, is that when we use this word culture, Cody, your culture of being raised, just because both of us are Kojic, doesn't mean that it was the same thing.
Right.
Because our house is really the first step of culture. Like when we get out, yes, we can have on the Jordans, we can have on whatever, but that household that you live in can establish culture. So I never heard ever my parents talk about sex. Ever. I never had a talk about the birds and the bees. I never had none of that. So in that, so what I try to do as far as like in the ministry, and this is vital, Cody, some things can't be done in the men's meeting, can't be talked about in the men's meeting. It's because, Cody, you know good and well we looking around and we're not finna say certain things because we may not be comfortable, quote unquote, with everybody who's here right now. So what I try to do is to make sure I have a personal relationship that I can talk to the old as well as the young. So again, Cody, I would say difficult conversations. I have those. It's not difficult for me to have it, but I can tell it's different for those that come to me to talk about those particular things.
And you know what? That's true. And I think that's why God has called you the pastor, because I'm not sensitive. Like what I mean, like my dad was, God rest his soul, an interesting fellow, but he was a man. He went to church. He loved my mama. He did it. I really think he did it for my mama, right? But if you knew my dad was, because he's from Chicago, border rate, like he was that guy. And
I got you.
Yeah, he taught me I knew at a 6 or 10, but like it was a real conversation, a very graphic conversation, but a real thing, but the reality is, if you don't, you're raising cats pretending to be dogs. And this is what I think is happening. I think we're softening masculinity, and we're softening our tone, right? To the point there's no expectation anymore.
Absolutely.
I had uncles, right? I had uncles.
Yeah.
Right. So for you, because you have to walk a balance, right? As leader, as spiritual leader, as pastor, as father, as husband, how can you ensure that masculinity doesn't become toxic, but it also doesn't become watered down?
Precepts and examples biblically. I try to be example of what a man looks like. I try to be example of how a man walks. I try to be example. Now I dress crazy, so I can't use that as an example. But I try to be example of that when it comes down to part of masculinity is covering, is to make sure that weaker physical vessel is, because that's the only part where I will call that vessel weaker physically, right? So many times we can be physically stronger, but we can be mentally weak, right? The sensitivity of the is at all time high. And what I mean by sensitivity, it connects with all the violence we're dealing with right now. Some sensitive people who take nothing. And where does it come from, Cody? Yeah. It comes from the culture, the home, the culture of that school. So right now, at the time, if you're angry at 17 and nothing is done about it, you're going to be angry at 27 and married. So where does that anger go? What do you take that anger out on? It's because it's never been dealt with. I mean, Cody, sometimes you have to act, and I do this all the time. Like, why are you mad? What's going on? Talk to me. And from there, again, Cody, we can have that difficult conversation.
I like it. Look, we're going to pivot because I want to take it up a notch. I want to talk about faithfulness.
Okay.
I want to cut to a break, but we're going to talk about
Let's get it.
The truth about faithfulness. That's a quick word from my sponsor.
Unfortunately, every day is not a day of spring. Life is filled with toxic temptations designed to entice you, to destroy you, to manipulate you, to poison you, to harm you, to cancel you, and to make you sick. And at CVMK, we've designed supplements so that you can fight back.
Yes, we did. CVMK is something you can fight back at www.cvmkglobal.store. I want y'all to get there. I'm telling y'all, I designed this for you. I have made this for you. Look. If you ever bring a vitamin around me, I'm gonna put this on Stand On Business. You know it. You don't even know. You know me. I make sure my stuff is safe. I also had a test. I have a testosterone product coming out for you men, because sometimes you just need a little. I'm not gonna drop the bomb. I'm not gonna tell you what it is, what it's called. Look out. It's going to be a hot summer, that's for sure. www.cvk.store. All right. Faithfulness. It's easy to preach it. It's easy to sit there on a Sunday morning in your Southern Baptist vernacular and stand on the mountaintops and scream. It's easy. It's our culture. This is what we do.
Sir.
We was raised like this. This is natural. This is like breathing for us. But there's things that come about. Attraction isn't one thing either. It's something I'm understanding. But I believe in holiness. What I don't believe is that holiness is ugly. I don't believe that holiness is the appearance of being unattractive. I think it's the acknowledgement and it's the ability to say no and say yes into a greater yes, who is Jesus, and then who Jesus has given you. But it is something. It is something. And in the words of my twin cousin Roger, because we're 6 months apart.
Oh boy.
Oh, let me not say that. Hold on, Diamond might watch it. Never mind. But anyway, so I'm just saying, like, it's something. It's something. It's something. It's something. You know, it's something. You know, and be out here. People, these women look good now. It's hard to be ugly. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's hard to be ugly. So, how do we, you know, social media has created I don't want to say a demon. I think that's overly used, but a new obstacle. We don't have a scripture for it. We can't preach this thing the same way. It's in your face all the time. And, you know, the desire for new is natural, even though it's perverted, but it's quite natural. But the constant messaging of what it should be, what it should look like, that is another level, right? And I watched the movie Mea Culpa. I tried to watch it. It was I couldn't get through it. I turned it off. I was like, man, I can't watch this. This had me going back. You know, I had me going back, you know, to the old me, to the 20-year-old me. No. So I couldn't watch it. I only got through halfway. I was like, this is enough for me. I'm good on this. But when I'm watching it, I realize, like, you know, people struggle with this. It's real out here. And I don't want to be the guy on Sunday that is just, you know, saints don't do this, saints do that, because I'm starting to realize saints do a lot. And Facebook be telling me that saints do a lot. So, Pastor Naamon, how do we start really becoming more faithful to the one that God has given us?
Honesty. It goes back to difficult conversations, Cody. So just to let you in on, was it Sunday? What's the day? Tuesday. So yesterday, I had a friend. I ain't gonna tell you his title because then y'all know who he is. So I had a friend. I had a friend to call me and say, man, I was looking at your service. Man, you got some good looking women over there, right? So, Cody, what my response supposed to be? Oh, no, we don't. Come on.
Like,
oh, no, we don't. Ain't nobody finding up in there, Remy. You know what I'm saying? So, what I'm saying is it's just being honest. If somebody is good looking, they can be good looking. It doesn't mean that you lusting after them. Like my wife loved Will Smith. Now he fell off a little bit. He coming back with Bad Boy, but I know that's her dude. So I know when I take her to the show, I just let her have her time, right? So in that we can have that conversation of who we may think that is attractive. It can help us along the way. It's because she already know what I'm thinking. I already know what she's thinking. That's part of the vibe. That's part of the vibe of practicing to be faithful. Because being faithful is practice. It's an everyday thing. You got to practice to get better, right? Mm-hmm. So in there, I do believe conversation. But this type of conversation, when it comes down to kingdom operations, we don't have that much. It's because we were taught that it opens up Pandora's box. But what happens is, because we haven't talked about it in so long, that when we open up the box, we open up the box, right? So I still believe, Cody, that the answer to 99% of the problems in the world is conversation. I really do. So I love the vibe that my wife and I have, because I'm able to say stuff to her. Maybe, Cody, you can't say to your wife, but Rita and I, we're able to say all types of stuff too. And so it keeps us like, man, I know what she's thinking, and she knows what I'm thinking as well. So I would say conversation again, Cody.
No, I believe it. I mean, we can't look. My wife loves Carmelo Anthony, and when he got kicked out the NBA, my heart jumped. I was like, that's
hey, when Will Smith, I ain't gonna lie. I kind of celebrate.
But I know my wife's type. And see, that's the conversation though. When you be married, you need to know your partner's type. My wife know my type. My type, I'm gonna be honest with you. Megan Good, Megan Thee Stallion, pretty much any Megan, right? Like, not like pretty much any Megan, but I got a type. I do have a type, so I think it's a real mature conversation to say, like, this is what I like. What I like will never destroy us, because I'm not gonna like what I like get in the way of what I love or what I need, right?
That's the book right there.
Yeah, it's but I likes.
Yeah.
And you have to be honest, it's okay to say this person is attractive. It's not okay to follow. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. My rule of thumb, I don't follow anybody's wife on social media. I don't even care if they're related to me. It's just my rule of thumb, because the Lord saved me. I'm a recovering hoe. I know that. I'm a dog. I know that though, right? And so I don't even play with fire, because I'm Johnny Storm. At least I used to be. I'm not now, thank God. But I still have a off switch. Like, if that bear ever, that's why on my CVK you see the bear, because that's my spirit animal. I know bears hibernate, they're cute and cuddly. But if you wake that bear up, that bear will rip your head off, right? Like, so yes, I try my hardest to keep the bear asleep, right? So attraction, understanding what drives your mate and understanding what turns off your mate.
It's huge.
Right? At what year did you get to the point where you were able to say, that's not sexy, that's not what's up?
I never got to that point.
Okay.
No, I never got into that point. It's because, like I said, so conversations will come from, I'm not the man that I was 10 years ago, Cody. I'm not the man physically. I don't know the man that I was 20 years ago. So what turn-offs and turn-ons could actually possibly be different from 10 years ago to 20 years ago. But I know we can't have those type of conversations. It's because we are in a kingdom environment, but it is truth, Cody. So there are things that I was attracted to in my 20s that's repulsive to me right now. It is. I don't know what I'm thinking.
I was like repulsive. I was like, that's a strong word.
Cody, I don't know what I was thinking.
You don't know what it's.
Now you asked me on the show. I didn't ask for this. This is what you.
That's true.
But Cody, if we grow as men and grow as women, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person that is on this land right now that dated somebody in their youth, and they look back at it right now and say, "Lord, what was I thinking?"
I know. I got some. I'll be like, we live. I'll say that afterward. But I sure be like, what was I thinking?
Chris don't hear from me. Don't call me Chris.
What? Hey, Chris still said, no, that's real. That's definitely real. Why are we slow to heal? And let me put some concrete on this.
Okay.
Maybe deliverance isn't healing.
Well, Cody, what is deliverance?
It's just being let free, but that doesn't mean I'm not still cloaked.
Well,
Right?
Cody, this is what we've been taught wrong. And I will say this, and I don't care how controversial it is.
Go for it.
Many times when it comes down to deliverance, it means being delivered from the atmosphere, not from the act.
Right.
Cody, I can say I'm delivered all I want, but I shouldn't practice if I'm delivered in a strip club. So many times what you've been delivered from is the atmosphere of the level of temptation. I'm delivered. Sometimes you don't know how delivered you is, so you have to make a conscious decision on purpose. What's the word now? Intentional.
Intentional.
Right? That's what we're using now. Right? That the atmosphere, I won't put myself into that environment, and that is my deliverance.
I agree. And I think you're right. I was thinking of Lazarus. I was thinking of John, the 11th chapter. He was delivered from death. He was delivered from the atmosphere, but he was still bound in grave clothes, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And that's what I mean by you delivered, not healed. Right. So I think we're slow to heal. We're slow to heal because I think we're rushed to perform. Even in church, I mean, church is performative to an aspect, to a degree. I mean, we have commands, we praise them, E flat, praise
Absolutely.
them. Yeah, it's very performative. I'm not saying it's not spiritual, but I am saying it is performative. The problem with performance is that if it is like an athletic venture, the body will adapt only for that moment to execute that operation. But that doesn't mean that you still aren't injured, right? Enough adrenaline kicks in, it could just be your day, right? And I really believe that we don't take the time to say, man, I'm not okay. Like this is jacked up. I feel terrible. And the pressure, and I thought about you all yesterday. I thought about you. I thought about Pastor Evans. I thought about a few other leaders. I thought about, man, am I even aware that people are hurting? Like, and maybe because they're in position, and I'm like, well, it seemed fine to me, So, like, do you think, and this is from, I'm gonna let you think on this. Do you think that they like you like that? You said you Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce said that, and Draymond Green replied, "They don't like you like that." I want to go to a break, and I want to ask you, do you think they like you like that? When I return.
I literally just tried the best pre-workout on the planet. With Superpower pre-workout, you have increased focus and a power boost every single time you work out. It's not only packed with 225 milligrams of caffeine, but it also has citrulline and creatine. It's insane how much energy and focus I had during my workouts. If you're ready to take your workouts to the next level, then ditch your current pre-workout and get the Superpower pre-workout to be your own hero.
Like the girl doing the deadlifts.
Superpower. There we go.
Transform would be. All my good stuff is over here. I should have got that before I started this show. Anyway, look, www.cvmkglobal.store. I got my tank top on. I don't want to have to show my nipples on the thing, but hey, look, I'm telling you,
terrible.
It's gonna become the new Nike. What did Cameron say? Don't watch me watch. No, I was Joel. Don't watch me watch. Yeah. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen. www.cvmkglobal.store. We talk about healing. Leaders are great at doing the thing that God has called them to do. But what I've learned is that greatness has a duality, because you would be God if you could be complete in all things, right? So for every strength you have an equal and opposite weakness. Whether the Church of God in Christ wants to admit that or not, it is evidently true, without naming names. Do you think people know when you're hurting, Pastor Naamon? I mean, I know your wife does. I know, Apostle Lady Williams knows when you're hurting. But do you think, like, man, Naamon Priest Day, do you think people see you?
Wow. Now that's one of your better questions of all time. Um, I'm sure that some of them can sense when things kind of make me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But if I'm hurting, it's very. I don't even think that Lady D knows every time that I'm hurting, like or most of the time. And Cody, I'm not saying that this is healthy. I'm saying that I'm just wired different. Let me let you know into my day. I'm I get a call. I think it's 5:35 in the morning. I get a call to one of the members from Trinity is in the hospital. And so I shoot up there. I shoot up to Ingles Hospital. While I'm at Ingles Hospital, I get a call that a member from Bread of Life is in the hospital. I shoot from Ingles and I go straight to make sure, just to make sure that they see my face. So that's isn't it now? It's 10:30 right now. So then I get a call that is a member who don't not a member, but somebody who likes our church that could be suicidal. I spent an hour and a half in that parking lot just talking to this person, not even my right. So at that time, then I get a call from my daughter. She want me to make sure that I pay the fee so she can go on a boat trip. At that time, then I get a text from my wife. My wife said, "What you doing?" Because I wasn't feeling well today, Cody. I wasn't feeling well. She asked, "What you doing?" I say, "I'm cooking." She said, "Cool. I'm gonna come home and cook." So Cody, that was my day. I was spiritual. I was natural at the same time. So when it comes down necessarily like my hurt, Cody, this is one of the things that I've learned, especially in church. I'm not saying that we don't need to vent. I'm not saying that we don't need to woosah. But I'm saying we need to be very careful of who we do. That's all. It's because some people take your venting, and when you're over it, let me give you a prime example. Coach, since we talk about marriage today, there has been marital ability, and some in the couple is to a person or particular people. What happens when that person feels better and the marriage is already good? I mean, back on track, but the people they still angry, they still bitter. So that's what I'm saying. It is, you have to be spiritual on who you vent to, because this thing ain't no joke.
I believe it. Do you have and I agree, I think you do have to protect your vulnerabilities. But isn't that what friends are for? Like, do you honestly, as a pastor, do Pastor Evans, do y'all have friends? And sometimes I ask that question because pastors talk in church language. You talk in Sunday morning euphemisms, and the older I get, I'm trying to interpret what you're really trying to say. I'm like, yeah, that don't sound right. So you say stuff like, "This is my friend, the anointed right reverend," just goofy stuff. But I get it. We in church. This is what we do. We go speak Elizabethan tongue, knowing that we from the south side of Chicago. That's how we do, right? So, but I wonder, like, when I'm watching him and I'm watching you, I'm watching Pastor Marcel, I'm watching whoever I'm watching, I'm like, do they really have, like, do they have like friends like this, somebody I can go and I can be the rawest form of me?
Yeah, we do. I'm sure your past future is probably one of the brightest futures I've seen right now. Okay, so his future's tremendous. So he has to be tremendously careful of who he's vulnerable with as well. For me, our culture at the church is we're all friends. Cody, you've been there. Like, that's our culture. Mario, we dip in the pulpit, so we say, "What's up?" That's because that's who we are. I'm not saying anybody else should be doing this, but our culture is that I care about the person more than I care about the gift.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I mean, we should. And maybe I didn't phrase it correctly. I guess I'm trying to say is, I know that you have people that love you, and yes, you have friends and friendly, but like I have. It's hard to say like that F word, that friend. Like this person can, 2:00 in the morning. If I call, they pick it up. I don't even got to. They if I'm calling at 2:00, they gonna pick up just because they know I don't call at 2:00 in the morning, right? Like,
absolutely.
Like that type of support, right? Not like go ahead, pass. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about like dogs.
Oh yeah, I have that. I have it in my ministerial staff. Cody, to be honest with you, we talk about tough things. And I know I was taught that, you can't be common with the people around you, they'll lose respect for you. In some instances, it does happen, Cody, but for the most part, I have them dogs that are, that are close to me. You know what I'm saying? So I have like two of my closest friends go to the church. So it's, you know what I'm saying? So it's, it balances out. Yeah, that's one of my elders right there. We talk about everything, and you have to understand this in our setting. And Mario, they can tell me, "Hey, Pastor, this is what you need to do. You need to let us." And I say, "You know what? I bet I'll back off," or things of that nature, because I believe this: for me to become better, I have to listen. And those I'm raising too, and I just told one of them Sunday, is that I am going to pour into them. It's because I just noticed that their capacity has widened where I can do more.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, yeah. So Cody, like what I'm saying is the spiritual appetite still becomes a part of the friendship. It's because we can talk from the Lakers to the carrot to the resurrection in the same conversation. That's kind of our culture.
That's true. That's fair. Last segment, I want to talk about the mental health aspect, but I really want to focus on self-deletion, right? I think there's self-deletion and I think there's suicide. I think self-deletion leads to this. I don't like getting on social media and reading something that jars me. At the same time, I respect because it's a cry for help. And so even though it jars me, I try to say, what would provoke somebody to be that raw if it wasn't for real? And then I try to say, how do we get to it? I'm not just saying, praying hands emojis and, that's cute. But like, how do I be there for my brother and sister? Because people are really dealing with stuff. I mean, a lot of just stuff, right? Heavy. Look, life will kick you in the balls. And if anybody has not experienced that, you haven't experienced life. Life heavy. Is you hit the siren go by. Life is when you see this pathology, because I don't think and I know I live in Chicago. So I don't think that was right on time. God knew. No, let me stop. I don't think we see it fast enough. Like, great point. My dad, dies of cancer, dies when I was 15. 3 years prior to that, he got sick. He had some lung infection they couldn't figure out. And it was like, man, and it sidelined it for like 6 months. And it was like, we need to do more tests. This doesn't make sense. He ignored it. A let it be let it see. And I always say that it's there before it's there. That things aren't random, people aren't random. How are you going about recognizing the temperature in the room, right? And saying, let's pause. I know you want to shout. I know you got your favorite, track on and you ready to do it. But I know this person right here, has already planned some terrible ending. And I'm not moving until that whole thing stops. How do you address that?
Each situation is different. Number one, seriously, I wrap it in prayer. One of the things that one of the gifts that I do have, that I know is a gift, it's not a talent. I'm able to recognize what's in the room. I don't know if it has anything to do with me being an organist, minstrel, or anything. I don't know. I don't know where to put that at. But there's many times when I walk in the room, I feel a particular thing, right? One of the things that I've learned, like, so those who are gamers, those who came up in that era of technology, graphics, a lot of times express themselves and how they're feeling. They express it verbally, like today sucks, right? They express that because they express it like, oh, this is a place where they actually letting it out. Sometimes it may seem like a crowd, but a lot of times it's I gotta get this out, right? So we have to be spiritual enough to recognize the different scenarios, different individuals. Cody, I will say this, and those that are on the line right now, I have no problem picking up the phone and talking to you all day until I know you're all right, and I mean all day. So those things come with it, Cody. And I as a Cody, that they have really close knitted group. So the great thing about a Cody, that call don't always have to come from me.
Right.
So what I'm saying, so that's the benefit of having a close knitted group. But Cody, I love the people that I shepherd. I have an environment now that I have the opportunity of shepherding more seasoned people as well. So It is stretching me and preparing me for those right now who will get to that season position perfectly one day as well.
I like it. I'm gonna do something different, and I did this in my last episode with Pastor Lonnie Davis. I noticed, the men of God has given them the charge to shift atmospheres. I entertain. I'm a host. That's what I do, and I do it well. Like, can't nobody do it better than your boy CVK33, because it's the best show on earth. One word, 4 letters, CVK. I want you to go right now to the YouTube page. But at the same token, I would be remiss if I did not allow you at least 3 minutes wherever the Lord leads you, and I'll give you the whole screen to yourself. I'll pull myself off screen, and then when I come back, we'll close out. Ladies and gentlemen, Pastor Naamon Williams.
This is what I like to say to all the men and all of the women. Your time will come. Your time will come. In the book of Samuel, we find that David is in the back and he's attending to the sheep, and everything is happening in another room. I want to let you know that your time will come to be in that room. But until then, do what you are doing. It's because many of us are worried about what's happening in a room that we wasn't invited to. And I am telling you that when the Lord opens the door for you to walk in the room, it is for you as a believer is to be ready for whatever the Lord wants to do. And once the Lord anoints you, when you are anointed to do something, it is to get the hell out of somebody else. So the Lord has given you the gift is to get the hell out of somebody. So what happens is that the enemy comes that when we are supposed to be get the hell out of somebody else, we're dealing with the hell of his life. So I'm telling you, my sister and my brother, don't you worry about it. Your time is going to come. All you have to do is to be ready. When the Lord anoints you, there's nothing that can't nobody do about it. The Bible lets us know there was 8 brothers before him. To understand that there were some people that was picked before you. And there's a difference between the appointed and the anointed. So saints, God, the anointed are the last to know. The anointing last to get there. So I want you to be encouraged, and next time you're not invited nowhere. It's because when you walk in the room, the Lord is going to kick the door down. God bless you, and I love you.
Awesome. Your time will come. I felt that. Your time will come. The oil will only pour for you. That's just the reality.
It's an oily situation.
It's an oily situation. It don't matter who older, who convert, it's only gonna pour for you. Pastor Names, it has been an absolute honor. Where can they connect with you?
Listen, you can meet me on Facebook. You can meet me at Naamon Williams. You can meet me there. You can meet me at Trinity Nations Church of God in Christ. And there, you can meet me at Life God in Christ, where we are Trinity, where you get the bread of life.
Y'all connect Pastor Naamon, connect with Trinity, where you get the bread of life. 2 churches, 1 church, 2 denominations. What they did it out. They did it. They merged that thing. Y'all connect with your boy. YouTube, 1 word, 4 letters. CVMK. Cody Brennan March Kelly. It's really that simple, yo. If you can't remember that, you can't remember anything. Instagram. It's gonna be a hot summer. That's all I'm gonna say. CVMK underscore global. I'm telling you, I would want. I'm telling you. I'm just letting you know now. It's gonna be a hot summer. CVMK underscore global. Personal account CVMK33. TikTok CVMK Globe. Snapchat. Yo, I want you to do this. You know, because some of y'all, a lot of y'all here, Negroes like us, right? Black social media content creator who actually developed the algorithm for Instagram, created his own social media platform called Fanbase. It's the only one that has raised $27 million in funding. If you can support Instagram, thing about Fanbase is, I'm gonna give you the plug. They have a subscription model that they actually pay per like. So when people like your photos, because it's geared for content creators, it's a penny. You might think that, but look how many likes. You done got 100 likes. That could have been $1 in your pocket. Think how many times you do that. Well, I won't go there. Fanbase, y'all, CVK Global. But where the best elements go down, www.cvmkglobal.store. And until next time, guys, thanks.